What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. Hope you're subscribing there on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify or YouTube or just TuneIn Radio. I don't know. Or you can listen to me through your Alexa app. You can just say, Alexa, listen to Growing Up Gaming, and that works too. So if you didn't know you could do that, you could. So just letting you know. This week on the show, we have our guest. His name is Tyler Drummond. I met this man with the help of Jacob, who I've had on the show before. We discuss a lot of different things, including the Canadian tax, which I didn't realize how egregious it was, but you'll hear all the stories that he has to say about that. If you guys want to be in the show, just like Tyler was, send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get things started with Tyler Drummond. Do you remember what initially got you started playing games? Was it a family member? Was it a friend? Was it some cool commercial you saw on TV? Like, what initially got you started?
Yeah, so my mom actually had the original Game Boy, the old fat one that took 4 AA batteries.
That you could use to murder a man, right?
Yeah, exactly, like a brick.
Yeah.
And she had Super Mario Land, which is the first Mario on handheld. And so that is the first thing I remember. I've always had games and always played games. They've always been around. So yeah, that was the first game I remember playing, but it's just always been a thing. There wasn't like any, it's kind of like TV. Mm-hmm. It's just there. And it's like, I've always had consoles. We've always had something, or I've always gone to a friend's house that had consoles and, Game Boys and whatever. So it's just always been a thing that, it's just normal.
One of the questions I usually ask people is like, were your parents encouraging of gaming? And it sounds like it because it was your mom's. Like, yeah. So she was into gaming prior to you being around and stuff. Like, she's not a gamer. Sure, but I think Tetris made everybody want to get a Game Boy. Yeah, though. I think that was like, I don't want to say greatest packing game because, like, you could say Mario and Mario World and Wii Sports or whatever, but, like, that made a lot of people who didn't care about gaming in traditional hardcore gaming, like, get a Game Boy just for Tetris. Yeah, but she loves Tetris and Mario and Donkey Kong and all, like, the classic Nintendo stuff. And so, yeah, she's always been super cool with it, as much as any parent is to, do your homework and, and so on, but right. As long as any of that stuff is taken care of, she's never had any issue with it. She's always been super supportive, bought me consoles. She actually won me a PS2. That's pretty awesome.
One of our big pizza chain up in Canada, Pizza. They used to do it's just called Pizza.
Is it Little Caesars? Because that's the tagline of Little Caesars. It's Pizza.
No. We do have Little Caesars up here too.
How did Little Caesars not sue the shit out of them for that?
It's hilarious. They have a bunch of weird names. Like one of them is like regionally they have different names.
Right.
One of them is just like the area code pizza. So like 870 pizza or whatever.
Okay, I guess we know where the location is within this area code. All right.
Yeah, and it's like the shittiest pizza ever, but the sides that they make are fucking awesome. Like potato wedges, chicken wings, chicken bites, whatever. Just all the side shit. So they should turn into a chicken
amazing. Store and not a fucking pizza joint. Like, your pizza's trash. Change your fucking name.
It's basically cardboard pizza, but yeah,
chicken is what you should call your ass.
They did. They used to do this contest thing where like you'd pull up part of the box, and you could win something. And we fucking won a PS2, which is how I got my first PS2. So that was awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, she's always been super, super encouraging, and yeah, it's just always been around, which is great, especially now having disposable income, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, like when you have like parents that are supportive of your thing, and I mean, it's not even a matter of like liking the same things, just supporting the things that you like, right? I mean, because like there's parents out there who don't know shit about what their kid's into, but as long as they're like, yeah, cool, like as long as you're again not being a shithead and you have good grades and you're not being a bad kid, then it's encouraging to do those things. But I mean, my daughter in the same way, like my daughter loves to draw and she is into slime like every other girl right now, where you make that slime shit. And again, I have no interest in either, but I'm just like, cool, good for you. My son, on the other hand, is into Nerf guns and video games, which is the most boy shit ever.
Yep.
But guess what? Yep. I'm sorry, that's pretty fun too. But no, I mean, as long as you have parents that are cool about it, but you get those parents sometimes, and that's why I asked that question, because sometimes you get parents that are just straight like, fuck video games, go work on the car, or like, you know, they're very anti-video game for whatever reason. You know, it'll rot your brain, blah, blah, blah. But it's cool though that your mom at least was very encouraging of it and everything. So, did you have brothers and sisters growing up to play games with?
No brothers and sisters. Lots of friends, obviously, and then at one point we lived with. So they're not officially family, but one of my mom's best friends. We lived with her for a while. Yeah, and like we, you know, me and her son, we'd introduce each other to people as cousins.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we lived with them for a while. So he and I would play a lot of wrestling games. We're big into wrestling.
Dude, we'd play a lot of on wrestling games, because wrestling games are the shit, bro.
They're fucking
so good. I don't even follow wrestling now, but if you put in front of me like WrestleMania 2000, I'd be like, I want to stun every person in the room.
Mercy.
Yep.
Just fucking wrestling games. I mean, they're okay now. They're a little too.
I like how the hype level we went from the fucking greatest to.
Yeah. Nowadays, they're okay. They've gotten way too simulated and trying to be like the real thing, which is cool in one hand, but on another, it's like, just make a great fucking game.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I remember reading somewhere. I can't remember where, but somebody, I think it might have been Kotaku, but like they had mentioned how the wrestling engine, like the engine that those wrestling games use, has not changed in like 15 years. Like it's the same engine, and the only thing they do is make it look prettier.
You can tell.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember because I was so hyped for, I think it was 2K16. It was free with Xbox Live Gold for 1 month. It was like they were like games with gold, a WWE game, and I was like, okay, we're going to fucking TLC this up and go nuts and all that shit. And I remember playing it, and I was just like, I'm not liking this. Like, I don't know if it's just because I don't like wrestling that much anymore, or if it's a matter of like, these new games just aren't as fun as the old games, or, you know, because I've mentioned before too, is like nostalgia glasses. You think games are better from your past when they're fucking not. Like, they're 100%. Just not good. So I thought about that, but then I played like No Mercy, and I'm like, no, this is still fun because it's insanity. Like,
a big problem with them is that the team, when it was back with THQ, they had like a team, I think in the States, and then a team in Japan, Ukes, that would work on the games. When they switched over to 2K, they gave it to the US side. They gave to, I think they're called Visual Concepts.
Okay.
The team that does like the NBA games.
Sure.
Not the same team, but the same in-house overall.
Right.
So they gave that to them, but then they stuck with Ukes. So like it's the same. They haven't changed. They went from THQ to 2K, and they haven't fucking changed. It just looks prettier. And even then, it doesn't actually look prettier necessarily.
Yeah, I personally, like I said, I've gone back and, you know, like I mentioned, certain games, like they just don't hold up as well because of, the problem is with like older games, they don't hold up as well because like new games, just controls are better, and just like overall they've gotten better, but like they made that wrestling game that was mimicking like the N64 style games, like the not Fire Pro Wrestling, there was was it Fire Pro Wrestling?
Well, I mean, Fire Pro has always been its own thing.
Right. There was one wrestling game that was out there that I thought like mimicked the N64 style. Like, because I remember back during those days, like SmackDown and all the games that were on N64 were like vastly different. Like, they were made by two entirely different teams.
Yeah, there was one team that made that's
because they had
Jack Specific.
It might have been. They had Attitude. No, they had Warzone. Then they had Attitude on PlayStation, and then there was all the SmackDown games after that. And then on N64, the people that were making the WCW games, then
they came over and made the WWE games.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I think they made an ECW game.
The people who were doing it was Acclaim did an ECW game, because somebody on my previous show had mentioned that, and it is really bad. Like, it's a really bad game. Like, if you go look up, dude, by the way, Warzone, like WWF Warzone is probably the biggest hunk of shit ever. Like, it's so, and I was so hyped for that game, and it's so bad. And if you go back and look at it, it's worse. Like, it's really, really depressing.
Yeah, there were a lot of terrible spin-off WWE games, like even just WWF Raw on the Xbox.
Yeah, that was one.
Absolute garbage.
I never played. I think it was literally after the N64 games. I like didn't really play any of the. I think my buddy had a PS2 SmackDown game, but like that was it. I didn't do any other wrestling games really after that. But
yeah,
I mean it's fine, whatever. I mean, like I said, the thing that sucks is like, and it's unfortunate with anything out there. If you're selling well, what is your incentive to change?
Yep.
Like, those games sell all the time because they're WWE and it's the only WWE game you can get. And like, if you give a shit about it, then that's, look at what they did with Madden when 2K5 came out. And it was $20. And it was awesome. Like, the game was fantastic. And Madden was like, we can't have this shit happening again. And then they bought the license. Like, when you are challenged, you tend to want to change to be better. Whereas, like, what's their incentive to change? There's none.
Yeah, which is funny with like the NBA games because 2K is just dominant, and they're in a spot too where like everybody complains about the microtransactions and everything, and yet they make gazillions of dollars on them every year.
Right.
And then you got EA trying to bring back NBA Live, and they're always so terrible.
They're so bad.
And there's glimpses of really good stuff in them, but they're just terrible. Just terrible.
My buddy Bryant is such a 2K fan. Like, he loves 2K. To the point where, like, if you occasionally see him on Xbox, he's just playing 2K and just, like, whatever. Yeah. He buys everything, though. Like, he buys all the games. Because he's just a single dude with a decent amount of money, and good for you, bro. Like, you know, you don't have to put kids through college and shit, so you can just buy whatever you want. But he buys everything, and I remember him telling me, he's like, I'm buying Live and 2K. I'm like, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why would you
wait 2 weeks? Live will be $10.
I'm like, and it was like Black
literally
Friday,
every
that shit
year
was like $10. And I was like, Brian, why do you do this to yourself? Why? And he goes, no, man, there's parts that look good, and then like every year he's like, fucking worst mistake ever, man. 2K is so much better. I'm like,
people desperately want, because 2K is great, and like if there's one thing I can count on every year is that I'm putting 200 to 300 hours into 2K and Madden every year.
Right.
And because 2K is great, but there's little things every year that kind of they pull away or get a little worse, or it's just getting old.
Right.
And people so desperately want there to be an alternative and something that's great and something that can challenge it, and it never happens because NBA Live is garbage.
It's fucking bad. It's so
garbage.
Bad. And it's funny because like I remember that one Live that was supposed to come out, it got reviewed and then like pulled, and it never released. Like that year, like people reviewed it, and I don't know if they just, everyone unanimously was like, this is trash, EA, like do something.
I think that was when they took a break too for a couple of years.
I think it was, yeah. After, like I think it was like, it might have been Live 15 or something. They were just straight like, we are scrapping this whole game. And I was like, you just threw away the whole game and it never released. That's insanity. Like, I wonder if they had discs printed and everything already. I don't know, but I was just like, that's crazy for you just to like cancel a game that's weeks from release, like that close. And
I remember listening to an interview where one of the developers who was with 2K when they really started to take off and get amazing, and then he actually went over to EA and was working on NBA Live, and I wish I remembered his name, but he was talking about how like he regretted it as soon as he left, and the process just like wasn't the same, and then eventually he returned to 2K.
I regret my decision immediately,
and I'm like, I guess we can see, because man, they just have troubles with NBA Live.
The one thing that still blows me away to this day, there is no baseball game on Xbox. None. Yeah. Like, MVP, because I used to work at a game store. MVP Baseball fucking dominated. Like, dominated. It was all like everybody bought MVP baseball, and then like they were just like, "No, we're good," and they just stopped. And I was like, "What?" Okay, like again, like it seems like they focused on like Madden, FIFA, NHL somewhat, and like that's it.
Yeah.
Like every other sports game is now just like on the wayside, and it's just like, you know, they have UFC now, which took the place of Fight Night. Which, by the way, bring back Fight Night. Just one.
Yeah, Fight Night's awesome.
Fight Night's great. UFC's okay. It's not bad.
The problem with the UFC games is I find the submission stuff is so
bad,
just not good.
Yeah,
that it ends up just being a boxing game anyway.
Yeah, all the groundwork stuff is bad. So what do people do? Stand there, except for now we can kick each other in the face. So like now they're just fucking going nuts, swinging and kicking.
And that's why they ended up introducing just the knockout mode.
Right.
It's just go punch each other and go nuts. And
exactly.
And
I wonder which mode was really popular in the game.
Yeah. Quick sidebar on MLB The Show.
Yeah.
I really am annoyed at the names because they give them the name of the proper year they come out. Mm-hmm. But every other sports game, because it comes out at the end of the year, is a year ahead.
Yeah.
And it fucks me up every time. I'm like, just do what everybody else does, please.
They just have to be different. Sony's like, we have to do it.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, MLB The Show 19. And I'm like, isn't that old?
Yeah, if we go off every other sports game, that's old. That's not the current one. No, like the show, like the show's a good game. I'm not like definitely not.
Yeah, no,
the show's
great game.
Great game, but it's just like the fact that an entire console, 2 consoles, get just left out because
it's pretty crazy.
No other company wants to do a baseball game. It's just kind of like, and again, it's like how 2K dominated basketball to the point where like people don't want to fucking touch it. Like the show is it's the same thing though. The show is like that good to the point where people don't want to like fucking get close with it because they're like, we could try our best and still not be half as good. So wonder what will happen. But as far as talking about sports games, back in the day, sports games were okay. I didn't really play like Madden or any of those back in the day. Like
same.
The only sports game I ended up playing back in the day was NBA Jam because that shit was awesome.
Oh, NBA Jam, NBA Street.
So
it was all like the side sports games that were amazing.
It wasn't like proper like rules. It was NFL Blitz. It was Jam. It was like nobody wanted to do the real sports simulator.
On GameCube, there was a game called NBA Courtside 2002 that had like the sickest soundtrack. And it was like going back and looking at it, I'm like, this game is garbage. It's pure garbage. But I love it so desperately because it was just one of those games I played obsessively as a kid.
Yeah, there's certain, by the way, like gaming soundtracks in general, like obviously like early 2000s, like PS2 era game soundtracks were like Madden soundtracks were fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like
so good.
EA used to put so much like effort into making a solid soundtrack, and now I think the only game they give a shit to do it on now is like hockey.
Madden gets a pretty decent
one. Does it still get
year.
one? Okay.
Yeah, I get a lot of music actually from Madden.
Yeah, but, I mean, to be honest, I have EA access, but I haven't played most of this. I mean, here's my best part. I can only tolerate X amount of hours of any sports game. I will play them, and I'm like, these are fun. I'm done now. Like I've gotten the hints, and like these are fun.
Yeah.
So EA Access is like a godsend because $30 for a year, and I'm like, you're gonna give me a 10-hour trial of Madden? That's all I fucking need. Let's go. Like, and then they eventually. It's funny because like as the season of that sport ends, here's the whole thing for free. Like that's how they do it usually.
Yep.
So
it's smart.
It's really smart, and it got me to have EA Access because my buddies are religious in NHL. They love that. Yeah. They play the ranked mode, and they're so fucking serious on it that like when I play with them, it's not a good idea.
Yeah,
they're like, you need to be here. I'm like, we're not playing real hockey. This is a fucking video game. Like, I'm sorry, I was out of position. My bad, team. Jesus, like they get this, bro. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
but
with
they're
Madden,
so
I do.
Good. Like, I get it.
I do franchise mode on Madden, and I'm so nerdy. Like I write down, I make spreadsheets and like plan for the draft, and I'm like, okay, I need this position and this position, and I'm gonna trade and get all these picks, and I'm gonna get this guy here and get this guy here, and I play all the games. I play on the hardest difficulty, and it's like the hardest. I've kind of figured out how to just whoop the CPU,
right?
So it's just like some of these games I'm up like 50-7, and it's like maybe I'll let them score at the end.
Right.
It's just embarrassing.
If I could,
I'm addicted.
if I turn Madden on one difficulty higher, I'm getting pick six all fucking day. I'm just like, it's not a good look for me. So I'm just like, The only game I was ever like sports game realistic one that I ever was good in was literally the whole 2K5 series because it was all the $20 games. NHL 2K5. I had that and Xbox Live, and I was ranked like 5th in the world. But it was really cheap because like there was one move where you could just basically skate somewhat behind the goalie, cut right in front, and just shoot it around him, and it would always go in.
Yeah,
like, it would always go in. And I mean, if you knew that, unless you were trying to stop me over and over from doing that, like I would just hit it in other ways. Like it was just like a broken game, to be honest. But again, I was like 5th in the world of a broken game. What up?
Yeah,
like, can't handle that. No, but like I remember like I played NHL 93 on Genesis. Only because my uncle had it, and I remember there was fighting and blood. So, again, I didn't even know the rules of hockey. I was just like checking people all day, wanting to fight them, and then just hoping to knock them out and see blood. Like that's all I did in that game. But no, like the real sports games. I mean, Blitz. I mean, what's funny is like again, I didn't follow sports as much, so I just I knew the basic rules of football. But then the moment you tackle somebody before they get the ball in like Madden and it's pass interference, you're like, that's a rule? Like, we can't just fucking smash somebody before they get the ball? That's bullshit. So, yeah, I remember the only time I got, like, my own sports game was Game Day 99 on PlayStation because I'm stupid. And I got it. The only thing I thought that was cool is they had a high jump button. Like, not a jump, but like a hurdle over the line jump button. And I remember doing it just because it looked like you jumped like 12 feet in the air. It looked so absurd. And I was just like, Sony should drop these. They shouldn't do these game day games anymore.
Yes. No, sports games have always, sports games are special. Because it's just, even when they're bad, there's something ridiculously fun about them. And even if you're not into sports, it's, I love.
I think like the mass appeal for like, I mean, back then, because like NBA Jam obviously was everywhere, and then NFL Blitz was everywhere. I think like if you just get the gist of what the sport is, get the ball in the end zone, put the ball in the basket. Like if you just know the gist of the games, then having a game that's over exaggerated like that, it's a mass appeal. So I mean, but the worst thing is like NFL could never do a blitz game now because they're trying so hard about player safety. Like they would never in their world ever do a blitz game again. And that really sucks. I remember when there was a blitz game on 360, that the NFL license got snatched up, right? So nobody could do an official NFL game. So there was a blitz game. I think it was called Blitz the League where they, they got like, but they went so far in the other direction. They were like, you can do steroids. you can get like, it was insanity. It was like the 90s Attitude Era mixed with football, but they were just like, and like Lawrence Taylor was on the cover and shit. I'm like, you guys are promoting like drug use and they didn't give a shit. And I was just like, wow, this game.
Amazing.
All right then. So, and
like
of course,
NFL Street too.
NFL Street. The only thing I was super happy about was NBA Street. I think it was Volume 2 on GameCube because they had Mario Luigi in it, and I was like, "Yo, Mario crossing somebody over is golden.
It's fucking amazing.
It's fucking amazing. It's so
good.
So you went when you were gaming. So you had Game Boy, NES. Like you won a PS2, obviously we had mentioned that. Where was the in between? Did you go Genesis or Super Nintendo? PlayStation?
It was always Nintendo.
Always Nintendo.
Yeah, but
was
actually,
the mom like an influence on that? Like, yo, I can't play Mario on Genesis. Sonic's a bitch.
Yeah, I think so. And another one of my mom's best friends who they lived out in the country. It was like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive away. Well, we go up there all the time in the summers. They had a pool and everything. And they had the Sega systems. So that's where I'd play Genesis and everything and get my Sonic fix in.
Basically.
But, we had SNES, basically everything. SNES, N64. I got a GameCube, PS2, obviously. I never had the original Xbox. But then at times I got a PS3. I think that was the last console my mom bought me. Was the PS3. And then I eventually got 360 and kind of everything.
Right.
As I'm, getting in the teens and getting jobs and getting money, and so I could start buying my own consoles and shit. But I pretty much always had the Nintendo console, and then always usually Sony.
Was your mom playing games with you? Like, did she ever do co-op games and stuff with you, or was that mostly your quote-unquote cousin that was kind of like playing a lot of stuff with you?
Mostly just me, yeah. And then cousins or friends or...
Sure.
Like I remember, for a while when I lived with that cousin, we lived in like a town housing area. Mm-hmm. So it was like a kind of like a closed off area with a bunch of houses. And so one of my buddies, my neighbors, who was next door, like I remember us just beating Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and everything. But yeah, it was never really with my mom. Every so often it'd be with her, but not a ton. She kind of stopped after a little bit.
Right. I think especially Super Nintendo, I won't say, because I think obviously with 64 is where multiplayer exploded because like the 4 ports and stuff. But like, because I remember it was obviously 2-player shit, because I remember playing games with my buddies, but we were mostly playing Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam. And 2 players in the same console. I didn't have a 64 until way later in the life cycle, but also none of my friends had a 64. So it was like, we all had PlayStation, but it was so funny because like PlayStation was such I won't say single player game machine, but like if you look back at the best games, they're not multiplayer. Like they're almost all single player.
A lot of them are JRPGs
right, JRPGs, but even things like Crash, Spyro, Tony Hawk, Metal Gear, and then of course like your 5,000 JRPGs. Like all of those are more focused on like single player stuff. Like I remember playing. We got like all of us basically got PlayStations because did you have like you had friends obviously you were saying and everything. Did you have friends that you had the one friend that had the Genesis? Did you have a friend that had PlayStation, so you kind of got a mix of everything?
I actually had a PlayStation as well.
You had the PlayStation. Okay.
At one point, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that was like with us, we didn't really have too many friends that had the opposite. Like in my neighborhood where I would go and see all my buddies, like all of us had the same thing, which made it a lot easier for like sharing games and stuff like that. But there was a lot of times where we would go rent a game like Silent Hill, or one of our buddies would get Silent Hill, and we would just go over their house, and it was almost like Twitch in real life. We just sat and watched them play, and like we would pass the controller around and do that. But yeah, like the only thing we ever did multiplayer on PlayStation was SmackDown. Like that was it. Like
even PS2 to a degree wasn't. Unless you had a multi-tap?
Which no one fucking had. Like,
exactly.
It
if someone had that, it blew your mind.
You're like, they sell these?
How rich are you?
Yeah, how rich are you?
Probably like $20.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, too, though, is like, also the games on PlayStation, they weren't catering. Like, how many games on PlayStation gave a shit about more than 2 people? Because, like, again, it was like, you have to buy this extra accessory, which nobody wants to do, and like especially when that barrier is there, game developers aren't enticed to want to make your game work with more than 2 players if there's this extra thing. I think honestly it was the sports games that were really the only games that were like on PlayStation at least that were like 4-player at the same time, and like that was basically it. But yeah, N64 though on the other hand, I've made the joke, Nintendo probably had some sort of contract agreement that said all games must have 4 players because like games that didn't fucking need 4 players had 4 players.
Yeah.
So
I think that's one of the interesting things about the original Xbox going back was it was kind of an in-between. Because I never really played it at the time. I never had an Xbox. And one buddy of mine who we used to spend a lot of time together when we were younger, but he kind of moved away. He had an original Xbox and he had Fable. So I remember seeing that, but I never really got an Xbox until 360. But like, they're great games like Fusion Frenzy, and a bunch. And I think it had 4 controller ports.
Yeah, the Xbox did.
Yeah, so it was kind of like this interesting in between at the time, looking back on it. But yeah, PlayStation was very, very one or co-op based.
Yeah, it was very rare. Like
a lot of fighting games.
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, dude, that system was your fighting game machine. Like all of your Street Fighters, all of Tekken. Like, all those Mortal Kombats, all of those. Mortal Kombat came to 60. Like, I can't even fucking imagine trying to play Mortal Kombat on 64.
God.
Like, that controller is fucking bogus for like, how could you do that game? Like, that controller, the only thing that's weird is like with Nintendo's controllers is like, some of them get weird. Let me rephrase that. N64 is the one where it got like real weird because there was like different ways to hold it. But all of Nintendo's first party games always took advantage of the way the controller was built so perfect, which made complete sense. But when you tell somebody like, here's PlayStation, now go mimic this on 64, it's just like,
it's weird.
The buttons are just laid out differently. Like, and you have like this extra Z button. Like, I mean, it's just weird how they did it. But yeah, you're right though. Like, I completely forgot about fighting games only because I played a lot of fighting games for Genesis. But after that, like, I didn't, cause I just realized how bad I am at fighting games. Like, I had demos of like Tekken, but like, I don't think I've ever owned a Tekken outright just because, like, you think you're good at video games until you really have somebody that comes over that's really actually good at fighting games. And then they beat the brakes off you and you're like, why do I bother?
You're the best of your friend group, but then you go outside and you're done.
Online 100% ruined fighting games for me. 100%.
I won't play them online.
Yeah, like you didn't know.
Very rare I play. Like, I've always been decent at fighting games. I've always been really good at Dragon Ball Z fighting games for some reason.
Those were fun. I did play those on PS2. Like, I don't even watch like Dragon Ball at all, but like, it was just over the top intense shit. And I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah. Oh man. Those are some of my absolute favorite games. Budokai series, the Budokai Tenkaichi series, Burst Limit, which is a funny little story about Burst Limit. So, I went to a elementary/middle school that graduated at grade 8.
Right.
So, we're at graduation, and they're announcing all these awards, and most people knew about the awards ahead of time, but there were a few people who didn't. One of them being me. I had won the I can't remember the name of it now, but I'd won some award for basically like the best or citizenship award, which is super random because I'd never heard of it. So we all got a gift card, like $100 gift card to our local mall.
That's pretty awesome.
And this was like a week before Burst Limit came out. So the first thing I did was ran to the mall and I bought Burst Limit because I didn't have any money until then.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. So yeah, so that was man, that's and it was like it's a great game because so the Budokai ones are like more, they're not quite 2D, but they're more 2D-ish.
Right.
Versus the Tenkaichi series, which is a lot of it's up in the air and it's 3D.
Yeah, that was like the Budokai series on PS2 because I remember like you just you would fight, but then it was just like to the skies. You're like, oh, okay, I guess this is what we're doing.
And then Burst Limit went back to that.
Right.
And it to this day, it's one of those cel-shaded games that where they hold up so well. The game looks freaking phenomenal to this day. It's
so funny because like I remember when cel shading was like becoming a thing and people hated it. Like fucking hated it. Like when Wind Waker came out, people were like, fuck this art style. Like people just didn't like it. Even though that game, shout out to my brother-in-law who has always said Wind Waker's a good game.
Great game.
He always said, like, he was never one, he's like, you guys are fucking stupid. This game is great. Like, you're not going to buy it because it looks the way it looks. Like, you're ridiculous. But then everybody, when Wind Waker HD remake, oh, we love it. Like, yeah, I bet you do.
Oh,
shut
greatest
up.
Game.
Greatest game. Shut up. You guys hated it back in GameCube. But, like, I remember there was, like, that game. There was that game 13, which is randomly getting remade. Like, as, like, a remaster. It got announced, like, 13 is coming to all the current consoles. Yeah, I was just like, okay, I guess that's a strange-ass game just to get remade. But then there's like Killer 7 was like another game that was very much like cel-shaded. But those games on the newer consoles look so good.
Yep.
Like, they're just so crisp and like they just look so goddamn good. But I remember so many people, like when that art style first got introduced, people just straight hated it. And I never understood why. Beautiful Joe was the same way. Like Beautiful Joe on GameCube and stuff was awesome game. But again, it just had that cel shading look, and you know, I don't know if people are just more accepting of it and shit. Like what's funny is my wife did not want to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because she didn't like the way it looked.
Wow.
She was just like, I don't like the animation style at all.
Oh, it looks so good.
And I told her that. So we didn't see it in the theaters. But then, like, I rented it for the kids. I just went to a Redbox. I was like, because my son really wanted to see it, and basically everyone did except for my wife. Yeah. And we just never got around to going to see it without her. So I was like, we'll rent it. And then she's like, all right, I'm gonna go do something else. I'm like, you're really not gonna sit here and watch this? And she watched like 20 minutes of it, and she's like, I can't. And she's got up and walked away. Meanwhile, I'm like, babe, you missed a great fucking movie. That movie's awesome. It was so good, and you missed it. And she's just like, I'm okay. I'm like, I guess. I mean, you don't know what you missed, so whatever. No, but like that, people bitched about that art style for a while, man. And I think now, you know, like I said, they made a whole movie with that kind of art style. So.
Yeah, now I think Borderlands really helped that because it was very stylized and it was very adult.
Yes, that was that's probably the most popular cell shaded game.
Yeah,
massive deal, I would say, because like obviously Wind Waker's there, but when people think Zelda, they don't go to Wind Waker. They think of like Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild or, you know, Link to the Past. They think of other art styles besides that. Like Borderlands, though, you're right, dude. Borderlands is fucking humongous and all over the place. And, you know, I feel bad for Gearbox, though, because they're basically a Borderlands studio. Like, you tried 2 games between Borderlands, like the pre-sequel. You tried, like, I can't remember the name of it. You had Duke Nukem Forever, which was
awful.
Pretend that never happened.
Please.
They had a game that came out right as Overwatch came out.
Something Breakers, was it?
No, Lawbreakers was Cliff Blazinski's game.
Right.
Oh my God, I'm googling it now, people, because you're gonna.
I could like picture it.
Yeah, like you're probably screaming at me in your car, like, you guys are trash. Battleborn. That's the game. That game was so bad.
Yep.
So bad. My buddy, remember how I told you I had a buddy that was all like 2K and Live?
Yep.
I had a buddy who was Overwatch and Battleborn. I'm like, you are fucking stupid. Like, don't buy Battleborn. And it turned into a $5 game 2 weeks later. I was like, please don't buy Battleborn. And he did. And he's like, you were right. Just don't do it. I'm like, yeah, but no, Battleborn. It's funny because like they tried 2 different games, and then everybody was basically just sitting there going, "You gonna just shut up now and make Borderlands 3 already?
Borderlands, please.
Just make Borderlands." I feel bad for those studios, but at the same time, like, sorry, like you made a game that's very popular, and I get you want to try new shit, but like, don't stop making the game that everybody loves. Just make your side games like your side shit. Like, do that. Like,
if you're gonna make new shit, it's got to be The Last of Us to Uncharted.
Yeah,
it has to be just as good and possibly better, depending on who you ask.
Sure, like you.
So, like, it has to be phenomenal. Otherwise, just give me more of the other shit, please.
Right, and I mean, like, when you mess up on a game twice like that, like 2 different games, like you get to a point where you're just like, just fucking stop. Just go make the game that everybody wants you to make. And I feel bad for certain studios because it is like that. But you're right, like only certain studios get to a point where they can like come out with a game that's completely different. That's not the same franchise, not a sequel, but it is like equal or better, like you said, depending on who you ask. That's how I feel about the Coalition, but also they were literally made, like they weren't made to make Gears, but then like they turned into basically the Gears studio.
Yeah.
But now they're doing like Gears Tactical and Gears Pop, so like they're doing side shit, but at the same time they're not like, we're going to stop making Gears 5 to make Gears Tactical. They'd be like, no, exactly. You're going to keep making Gears 5 and you're going to do that shit over here where we can make, you have to keep bringing in the money so you can afford to do that side shit. Like, you have to. So, I mean, some studios get in that rut, and like some people don't like that shit. Some people like. I feel bad for some of those like Activision studios, like where they got basically condensed into Call of Duty makers.
Yeah,
like Neversoft.
There's 3 of them.
There's 3 of them, but they got condensed into basically Call of Duty machines. Like Neversoft used to make fucking Tony Hawk, and they were like, "You make Call of Duty maps now."
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
That is crazy. Then again, Tony Hawk became real bad.
Oh.
It was so good, and then it got real bad.
The last ones I remember playing was, I think, Underground?
Underground 2 was the last one that I was, like, all about, and then after that... No, actually, they had American Wasteland, that was the last one that I did. After that, it was, like, Project 8, and then they did Downhill Jam, and...
They brought back Pro Skater and tried to ruin our childhood.
Depending on who you ask, they sure succeeded. Because those games, dude, I had a buddy, Brock, who I will mention every time because he fucked up. I was like on my Xbox friends list scrolling through, and Brock McLaughlin was playing Tony Hawk 5. And I sent him a message on like a tweet, and I said, Brock, if you're depressed, you can just talk to somebody. Like, you don't have to you don't have to hurt yourself and play Tony Hawk 5. And he's just like, there's just times where I got to play a Tony Hawk game. I'm like, no, there's times where you need to play Skate 3 because it's backward compatible. Like, what is fucking wrong with you, man?
I remember play TPS 3.
Yes, just like go. It would be better for you to go find a PS2 and go get the other games than play Tony Hawk 5. Don't hurt yourself, Brock. Like, we love you. We don't want you to be in pain. That game is real bad. But Lil Wayne was in it, so it's always good, right? I remember Tim Geddes was the saddest person in the world.
Yeah.
He did that Let's Play of it, and he's just like, guys, this is not good.
That broke my heart.
Anytime I see any of the Kind of Funny members, like, their hearts break over a game. Yeah. Like, watching Tim Geddes' face during the Switch reveal.
Oh, man.
It's beautiful. When 1-2 Switch came on screen, he was just like, oh. It was just so good. It's so good. That's what I feel about, unfortunately, Days Gone could be a good game, but, like, when I saw Greg say he was, like, disappointed in it, I was like, oh, no. Like, that's Greg fucking Miller. That's PlayStation loving Greg Miller, and he goes, I'm disappointed. I'm like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, it was interesting too, because after the preview and Greg was talking about it, I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested now, because I'm not really big into biker gangs and all that, so that kind of was turning me off, and I'm like, there's enough zombie stuff. I'd rather play something else. But then that got me interested, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait until it comes out. And just in case. And then as soon as that hit, I was like, thank God I didn't buy this game.
So, I mean, unfortunately that happens. Like, at least nowadays, you can at least see a game prior to buying it. Because, like, back then, you had to go off of, like, a picture.
Yep.
And, like, box art. Because sometimes that was, like, I'm assuming you probably did, like, video rentals and game rentals and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was like...
I used to never buy games.
Really?
It was always because we just didn't really have the money.
Sure.
To buy, like, I would buy a few games a year.
Right.
But 90% of it was just going to Blockbuster. Rest in peace.
Was it just... Yeah, rest in peace. Was that, like, basically, like, I'm assuming... Unfortunately, everybody has the same cycle unless you're rich and bougie. Birthday, Christmas. Was basically game time.
Basically,
like,
maybe one in between.
Right. When's your birthday? Did you ever get screwed of, like...
July.
Good for you.
So it's nice and spread out.
That's right.
Middle of the year, end of the year.
Yep. That's it. Dude, it feels so bad for those poor bastards that have a birthday in January. Like,
oh, I know. One of my best friends, his birthday was January 1st.
My brother-in-law's birthday is December 30th. I'm like,
no.
I'm like, you got fucked every year for Christmas and birthday.
It's not good.
Like, that's just so bumming, man. I'd be like, but again, like, especially when it's that, and especially when you're a kid, that's your cycle, and it's like, what are you going to do if something comes out like mid-year? You got to wait 6 months? Fuck. Yep. That really sucks. Oh, well, that's why I always like my buddies, because, like, we would always coordinate. Okay, your birthday's in what? Okay, you ask for this. You ask for this. You ask for this. And we had, like, our own Blockbuster, basically, where everybody just asked for games, and we were just, sharing games between each other. But then also, like, going over their house and just watching them play. Like, that was a big deal, too. So, so obviously, as you were getting older, you got a PS2. So was there any intention on buying a PS2 before you won one?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's really hard to remember. I think it was right when it came out.
Right.
Because it was definitely the old fat one.
Yeah.
And
big old fat one that liked to break a lot.
Yeah. And so I'm sure we would have gotten it at some point, but that took it out of the equation for sure.
Yeah, I remember working at the video game store, not at PS2 launch, but like I worked at the game store from 2004 to 2006. So like right at like not tail end, but like I worked 360 launch 360 launch. I worked that. But I remember when the Slim PS2 got announced and they were actually talking about how tiny it was, and I thought it was fake as shit. I was like, that's not a real system. And then we got one in the store and we opened it up and I was just like, this is the size of a DVD case. This is crazy small. But yeah, I always remember that, but that old fat PS2, every time one came in, we had to take a look. We had to put in like 3 different discs just to make sure it would read them, because there were certain games, like, I remember God of War was the big one. Like, we had so many people coming in saying God of War wouldn't work.
Damn.
And I was like, no, it does. Like, it was one of the first, like, dual layer, DVDs that they had.
Yeah.
So, I was like, no, it works. I promise you. They're like, no, it doesn't work in my shit. I'm like, no, look. And I would, put it in the PS2 we had at work, and I was like, no, look. It works fine. Like, your laser on your PS2 is just not good anymore. Like, you need to get a new PS2. So that was like the crappy part. And then, like, we would have people that would trade in PS2s, and we would have to put in a CD, DVD, dual layer DVD, and just test it all out to make sure it all worked. And then you would see sometimes the face of a person when you try to put in God of War, and they're like, fuck. They're not going to take it. Because we got to test it. Sorry, you're trying to scam us, you punk asses. Like,
I've actually gotten away with that before.
Did you?
Trading in broken consoles.
Unfortunately, man, times are tough. You got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
I won't say I might do that here soon. No, so recently, my Xbox One X, it hasn't done it lately, but it had some weird glitch where it looked like it was ghosting when I was playing Apex. And I was like, hey, does anybody else have this issue with Apex? And they're like, no. I'm like,
oh, no.
It's like, that's not good. And then I started playing Trials Fusion, or no, not Fusion, Rising, the new Trials game. And it did it during that. And I was like, oh, no. I took it outside and blew out all the dust and stuff. And, like, it's been better, but I'm still like, ugh.
Oh, not the X, too.
I know, right? I mean, me, though, knowing me, I'll just be like, whatever, trade this in, buy another X. Like, I've gotten to, my wife kind of has accepted the fact that, like, if a new Xbox comes out, I just buy it and I keep the old one. Like, I have 4 Xbox Ones in my house.
Wow.
Because, like, I got the original the day one, and then I bought one for my kids so they can leave mine alone. Then the S came out. So instead of doing the smart thing of trading in your old one and getting, I'm like, no, I'm just buying the S. And then when the X came out, I was like, no, I'm just buying the S. So, yeah, I have one in, like, all over the house. I just use the S for a 4K Blu-ray player now, basically.
Yeah, that's useful.
And Overcooked 2. Just in the other room. Like, me and my wife, that's like the console where me and my wife will, like, co-op games together. That's what we usually use it for. But no, my X is in my game room. So, again, I got, when the PS4 and Xbox One came out, about 6 months after, I think I got the Xbox One. I was going to get the PS4, but 1, it was still sold out everywhere. Right. And 2, I think it was was it more expensive? PS4 or Xbox One was more expensive.
No, Xbox One was more expensive.
Yeah, because that was when they bundled it with Kinect when they were making.
Actually, no. So here's the deal. It was the PS4 was more expensive because we have what I like to affectionately refer to as the Canada tax.
Yes.
Where
was it that different? Like,
our consoles are $100 more.
Right.
And now, like, Xbox has it now too. It's across the board. But I think at the time, the Xbox was the same price as the US price.
Wow.
Whereas our PS4 was $100 more, so they were like the same price.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I can't get the PS4 anyway because it's sold out. So I'm just going to buy the Xbox One.
Yeah.
So I bought the Xbox One, and then because PS4 didn't really have an exclusive at the time.
Right.
And then when Uncharted 4 came out, I traded in the Xbox, got the PS4. Now I have an Xbox One S as well. I got it for like $200.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with that Canada tax plus our actual tax on top of it. So like an Xbox One X is like $700 after tax.
Jesus.
And I'm like, I could buy that.
So much money.
Or I could not.
Yeah. like, so that was, I didn't even think about that because I mean, like, I thought games were expensive when I was growing up, but I can't even imagine, like, on your end, like, games were even more expensive. Like,
it's our games here, so a $60 game for you is an $80 game for us. And the nice thing with Sony,
I can't even imagine, like, a gold edition Assassin's Creed is probably $200 fucking.
Yeah, no, they're like legit. I think like $100. If it's like $150 for you guys, it's $200 for us.
Jesus.
It's the one nice thing is with PlayStation, if you buy it digitally, which I mostly do now, there's no tax.
Ooh.
So you save like $8,
right?
Which is nice. But yeah, no, like that was the nice thing with the only reason I got the Xbox One S is it was on sale and I just happened to have some spare money.
Sure.
So it was like $200 versus a $600 Xbox One X.
That's insane.
I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go with this one.
Yo, S is not bad, dude. S is not a bad choice. Like,
you play the same games, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. You're good, man.
You did the same. It's still got HDR. I'm like, it looks pretty.
Yeah, no. I remember the HDR side of things looking better, and then I got my X hooked up in my 4K, and I was like, what is life?
We were like, woo.
What is life? Like, what am I looking at right now? Yeah, it's just kind of that difference, though, man, in price. Jesus, dude.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when the Switch came out and everyone's like, oh man, what a great price. It's only $300. I'm like, oh, it's $470 after tax.
Like, the worst thing I feel bad about is, like, anytime there's, like, promotions or offers or something, and then, like, in the Reddit thread, it's always like, US only, sad face. I'm like, God, dude, that sucks.
The best part for us is when Canada is included, Quebec isn't, like 99% of the time.
Why?
So it's like U.S., Canada, not Quebec.
Wow. Okay. What did they do? Did they piss someone off?
There's a whole thing with Quebec versus the rest of Canada.
Jesus.
And it's like we're kind of like we love each other when we need. It's kind of like that big brother little brother deal.
Right.
Where it's like we kind of hate each other, but then if anybody else says anything, it's like, well, no, we love them. Like,
sure.
Back off.
Man,
but it's funny because like they're so different. Like, and you know, there was a whole. I'm not going to go into the whole history of Canada, but you know, there was a time where Quebec wanted to be its own country, and that never ended up happening. But so there's a little bit of a thing there.
That's crazy. But it's
funny, like
from sales like that, they're just like, yo, man, we got to side with one or the other.
Contests, sales, promotion, like. Wow. Any of that stuff, Quebec usually is not included.
That's like, crazy.
Damn, y'all throwing some hella shade.
Like, I didn't do shit to you guys, man. Why you guys do, like, you gotta do me dirty like this just because I live here? That's fucked up.
I know they speak a lot of French, but they cool.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think of like, you know, it's so bummed out when I see some things like that. It's like spring sale. It's like, man, fuck your spring sale. It's the US only. There's like, just like all sorts of upset. I'm like, yeah, I get it. But then there's like sales sometimes that happen, you know, in overseas. Like that, the other thing too that threw me off was like, obviously the internet opened up a lot of eyes to like different pricing and shit. Cause it's not like I'm a kid thinking about Canadian pricing, like in the US. Like I didn't even think about that. But like, that was like a big thing why like the PS2 survived in Brazil for so fucking long, because like apparently like PS3s and 360s and all those were so expensive for like import reasons and shit. Like if it's not made there, there's some like next level like cost to it compared to something that's made within the country or something. So like like I remember Pro Evolution Soccer like 2015 or something came out for PS2. Like like okay then. It's like it's nuts, but again like you always notice that though with the sports games.
That was
always
like
the last game.
Like the Ubisoft, what are they called? Not Dance Revolution.
That's Konami. Just
Dance, yeah.
Oh, how
like
that shit comes out on Wii?
Yeah.
2019 comes out on Wii? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, it's crazy though.
That hustle.
Like, yeah. I mean, dude, it's funny though because like, there's not much to the game, and I guarantee you for them to put it on Wii, it costs next to nothing, and it probably still it sells to fucking hillbillies in Walmart probably.
Yeah.
Like,
even if you sold like, you know, a few thousand copies, it's why not?
Dude, that shit came out on Wii U as well. I was like, wow. Wow. That's just some barely sold and you put it on Wii U. That's fucking crazy.
I forget the Wii U existed sometimes.
Yeah, most people wish they probably did. So, like,
but yeah, it's weird though, because like we didn't always have that price difference. Mm-hmm. For a while, we had $60 games, just like you guys, and all the prices were the same. And I feel like it was around 2008 where it slowly a few games, like I think PlayStation exclusives, started creeping up to like $70.
That's so
and
crazy.
Then eventually they creeped up to $80. And so now it's like listening to any like gaming podcast, and it's like, oh, it's $60, $60. No, it's not.
You're like, bitch, I wish it was $60.
Your $40 game is $60.
Right. Like, dude, I bet you Black Friday sales make you just want to cry. Like when you see Black Friday sales in the US, it's like $20 game of the year this, and you're like, fuck you.
That's the thing. It's like, the game is $60 when it's Black Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it goes down to $59.99.
But Black Friday in Canada gets rid of the Canada tax. That's basically what it does. God, dude.
Yeah.
And like, so there's, even when you buy digital, like those sales and stuff, they're still like inflated for the difference and everything.
Yep.
Wow.
And so like a good deal, for us is like if a game goes down to like $40.
Wow.
And that's like when it's already well lower for you guys. That's like $40 or $45. That's a great deal. And like,
do you ever see the games drop like similar pricing? Like for example, like if we have a game on sale, do you guys have a game on sale? Obviously, there's still a price difference, right?
Yeah, like for the digital sales usually, and same with like even the retail ones generally. Because I mean, like we have EB Games up here, which is it's still GameStop,
right?
Ours are still called EB Games.
Sure.
I think we have some GameStops up here.
That's so weird. I remember when EB bought GameStop, or GameStop bought EB in my in my town. They were across the street from each other.
Yeah,
like they're across the street from each other, and I'm like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Like, obviously, one of your stores has got to shut down because you can't have a GameStop right across the street from another GameStop. Like, explain what you do there.
But like they usually have sales on, and it's usually like I think it's usually the same percentage.
Sure, but obviously it's just a difference in the price still, though.
Yeah, exactly. Ours are usually
that fucking sucks, man.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that. Like again, like people bitch. I mean, now like I remember when it went from 50 to 60 because PS2 era was 50, and then it went to 60 with next gen, and people weren't thrilled, but then they still bought it. Like, they didn't give a shit. So I remember people like real mad at like those launch 360 games, especially because like I want to say it was Tony Hawk Project 8, I think, came out on both. And when it came out on 360 and it came out on Xbox, like it was literally $10 difference, but it didn't look like a $10 difference. Like it did not like. People were like, I'm paying $10 more just to play it on this console because it did not look like significantly better. Like some games they ported over did very well, but like others didn't. Like others did not look right. So
and that's a funny note with like you mentioned like the special editions. So like Spider-Man, for example, I think so. There was the regular and then the deluxe. I think the deluxe was $80 for you guys.
Yeah,
that was $100 for us. So your deluxe is the same price as our regular.
Jesus, that's so insane.
Yeah,
and like, I can't even imagine games like, dude, like Assassin's Creed Ultimate Edition is literally like I think it's $130 or something. It's a fucking astronomical number.
There's one version of that game. There's like the gold or palladium version, whatever the hell it's called.
Whatever.
That I think is over $200. I think it's close to. I think it was like $225 at launch or something.
That's so ridiculous.
And I'm like, that's
a
console.
It is a console. Yeah. I can't, I mean, and again, like I think of like limited edition games for you guys though. Like I bought a Gears of War 4 limited edition version that was only on Amazon that had like a statue with JD Phoenix on his bike.
Yeah.
Which is fucking awesome. Like I got it right there and I love it to death. It was $200. It was a lot of fucking money.
That would have been $300 here.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think of that and I'm like, God, dude, that is a console. But then like, what's crazy is there are limited editions here that are the price of consoles. Like, what the fuck? Like the new Borderlands one, I think is like $250 US or something. Like it's absurd. I think, I'm almost positive. Borderlands 3 Special Edition. It's like GameStop exclusive. Okay, I got real scared for a second because I saw something that said $500, but that's on eBay because somebody's a moron. I literally was just about to like lose it. Like, oh yeah, here we go. Borderlands 3 Diamond Loot Chest Collector's Edition exclusive to GameStop, $250 US.
Ooh.
You bought your fucking Xbox One S for $200. Like that's crazy talk. Like,
oh my God.
No, thank you. Oh my God.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of money. No thanks, man.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of my special editions that I've gotten are my buddy bought them. Mm-hmm. And then just like years later he would like give me the statue.
Nice.
And like, if you saw the art book, he gave me the art book. So like,
Nice.
I have the Gears of War 3 Marcus Phoenix statue.
I got that right.
I have the Halo Reach.
For it.
I have the Halo Reach one. Batman, Uncharted, Arkham City specifically.
Nice.
Uncharted 3. Like, I have all this special edition stuff that I didn't buy or pay for.
Right.
This is pretty sweet.
Only certain games I go nuts and buy the limited editions for right away, which is basically Gears, Halo, and Kingdom Hearts. Like, that's go figure, right? That's fucking what I got going on. So, as far as it goes now, when it comes to gaming, obviously you have everything though. Now, like, you got that disposable income now. You can just fuck off and basically buy whatever you want.
Yep.
Granted, you're paying like 20% more for 30% more.
I still somewhat have to think about it.
Yeah. Like, you can't just willy-nilly do shit because, like, I can't think that Canada tax is a killer, bro.
Like, I bought Resident Evil 2. I've been buying more third-party games on Xbox just because I like the controller more.
Sure.
And so I don't get that no tax on the digital side.
Yeah.
So I bought. So
they charge tax on Xbox?
Yeah.
Lame. That's weird.
So I bought like Resident Evil 2 and Devil May Cry 5. I got the digital deluxe editions, which are $10 more.
Right.
But they ended up being $100 after tax.
Good Lord. That's so much money. Like,
yeah.
And this kind of leads into my question because I mentioned earlier, sometimes when people get their own money, they buy games and they're really bummed out that they bought them. I can't even fucking imagine Canada tax buying a game and it being bad. I'd be furious. So with that question, what is the worst game you completely overpaid for Canada tax money? Like, what's the worst game you bought with your own money?
I've been trying to think, and I will say, for one, before I get to the actual worst game, I will give a funny story. Was I bought Fallout 3 on the PS3, and I played the first hour and a half, and I fucking hated it.
Right.
And I went to try and return it, and they wouldn't take it.
Of course they would.
And I was pissed. And then I went to a buddy's house, and I brought my PS3 and my TV, and we were both playing Fallout 3 together. And then eventually it just clicked, and I fucking loved it.
Oh, okay, good.
So, I ended up loving it. But at first, it was like, oh my god, I hate this game so much. I
fucked up.
Like,
I was only scoffing on PS3 because Bethesda and PS3 fucking don't work.
Yeah, no.
Like, they don't work. Bethesda barely works on Xbox, and then it's like super broke on PS3. I remember people were like, Skyrim's fucking unplayable on PlayStation.
Skyrim just broke. Straight up broke. Or like,
and they can do patches, but Bethesda straight did the I don't know emoji, like, fuck it, sorry.
Yeah, it was months that game was broken, which is incredible.
That's insane. But I mean, the games are already broken by Bethesda. Like, I mean, they come out broken and then they fix them later, unfortunately. Dude, my son, speaking of Bethesda, my son plays Fallout 4, loves Fallout 4. He played 76. He asked for 76 for his fucking birthday. If I interview him 10 years from now and ask him what the worst game he ever got without his own money is, he might say that. Because he's straight like... I go upstairs like the day after his birthday and he's playing 4 still. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, Dad, 76 is really bad. I'm like, and I bought it digitally because like I was hoping, like, I didn't buy it physically. I bought it digital for him so he can play it and I could play it possibly. But like I had no interest in playing it because I didn't think the thing that was missing from Fallout was multiplayer. Like, I didn't think that at all. Apparently other fucking people did. And he played and he's just like, Dad, it's not good. I'm like, are you for real? And he's like, yeah, I'm not happy with it. And also too, he's running it on an OG Xbox, which probably doesn't help anything. Like if he had an X, it might run more stable, just better. But like he's running on an OG Xbox and the game's a Bethesda game it's 76. Like he's just like, every time I go up there, he's still playing 4. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, keep playing 4 then.
I really liked 4. I know a lot of people were...
I didn't dislike it.
Disappointed?
I think for me it's because I didn't play 3 or Vegas, like New Vegas. I didn't play them because I wasn't like, I didn't give a shit about them, but like 4 was supposed to be really good. So I didn't have it to compare it to 4, like those other games. But like people were like, New Vegas was amazing. It was the best one. And like everybody likes their certain one, but like I personally didn't like the whole craft building shit. Like, the base building shit, I could not stand it. I was just like, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, I'd rather just... The story was fine, and I was just like, this is fun. Yeah. I did beat it. I got to Nuka World, and that fucking Nuka World DLC was so broken, I didn't play it. I was just like, I can't play this. It's busted.
Yeah, I never played the DLC for it, but...
Some of it's fine.
But, yeah, so I did think of it.
Okay.
And it wasn't when it first came out, because I didn't know about it for a while. But it was that 2006 Sonic game.
You are the second person who has said that. Dude, that is just a trash game. It is a fucking trash bag game.
Garbage.
Dude, and it had faith. People had faith in it, and then it was just not good.
Yep.
Dude,
and I think if I had to go number 2, and I'm only going to go for half of this game, Sonic Unleashed.
Yeah, I mean...
Because I really liked all the light stuff.
Right.
That was really fun. But you get to the fucking Werehog stuff.
I just love that you said Sonic, 2006 Sonic. I was like, holy shit, that's deja vu, because someone said that game as well. It's a bad game.
It's just trash.
It's not good. It's hard for me because it's funny because, like, as I ask people this question, I try to think of the game that, like... And there's games that I bought that have, I mean, Game Day 99 comes to mind just because it's, but that was a gift. That wasn't like with my own money. But like I bought, and it's not even the worst game because it's a good game, but just like technically it didn't run well on my Xbox was Just Cause 3.
Okay.
People like all the videos you see of all the crazy shit are happening are on high-end PCs where the game doesn't break instantly. And that shit, dude, the first wall I blew up on the OG Xbox Day 1 edition, that fucking thing was like chugging at 13 frames a second or something. I was like, this sucks. This really... And I got rid of it. And like... There was a day 1 patch that was supposed to make it better, or some patch that was supposed to happen to make it better, and I did it, and it was still chugging. I'm like, this game is just not meant for this console. Like, on the X, I'm sure if it's Xbox One X enhanced, I'm sure it's better. But, like, no, it's just... Hey, my wife came home. My daughter's excited. But, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of... that game, like, technical... games that are just, and you know, sometimes gameplay's bad, or like gameplay can be good, but like if it's technically, like if it runs like shit, that's where it's bad. Like that's where you just like get heartbroken. But I mean, you know, sometimes people make mistakes, so mine was just, I had to admit it was a mistake too. I was just like, I'm good. I did think that one was technically bad. Destiny was the game I hated the most though. I bought Destiny and it was day 1 Destiny without all the cool updates everybody loved. And I was tired of hearing Peter Dinklage tell me to fucking sit here and wait while he did something. So I was like, I'm good. I got rid of it a week later, bought Shadow of Mordor, and that game is so much better. So
Mordor is like, awesome.
Shadow of Mordor and then Shadow of War, fucking great games.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's hard to think of because for a while now I've been very selective with what I buy, and I used to just...
I would be too.
pre-order everything. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. I used to just pre-order everything, but now I definitely take my time and wait and let things come out. So it's been a while since I've really bought one that was like, this game is just fucking awful.
Yeah, I mean, like for the most part now, just based off time, I don't buy everything because like, I
that's
don't
a big part
have
of it
time.
too.
So like, example, I'm stupid and I bought Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I just recently bought it on the sale. Man. The base game is like 60 hours, and I have the season pass for it.
So the base game, 60 hours for the core story.
Yeah.
Not even the whole story.
Oh, I know.
Just the core story.
Yeah. I'm stupid.
I beat that 60 hours in.
All right. If people wanted to check you out online, if they wanted to see all the things that you do, where would they go do that?
I am at Tyler Drummond on Twitter, Tyler David Drummond on Instagram. That's really about it. I am starting up some of my own stuff soon, called Drummond Digest, so you can take a look out for that in the coming weeks. But, yeah.
Did you message the asshole who took Tyler Drummond on Instagram?
No, and...
Like, you cocksucker. I wanted that. Why you gotta do this to me?
Yeah, it's annoying. It's really annoying, because I came late to Instagram, so I was pretty early on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I got my name fine.
Right.
Instagram, yeah, no, for a while it was just Tyler Drummond and then a few numbers. And then I was like, I don't like this shit. I'm just going to use my middle name.
Yeah. I feel bad for Nick _ Scarpino because, like, what kind of cosmic shit is it that the real Nick Scarpino works at Portillo's? Like,
that's the most ridiculous thing.
That's just so crazy.
Way too kismet.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, come on. So, well, dude, thank you so much for being on your show. Or my
Thanks for having me.
Your show. Yeah, your show. Thank you for being on my show.
My show now.
All your shows, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me, man.
All right, and again, thank you, Tyler, for being on the show. Guys, if you want to check him out on Twitter, go to follow him at Tyler Drummond, because he was cool enough to get his own name. Of course, he also has some things that'll be happening soonish in the future, so feel free to follow him on Twitter so you can check out all the things that he has going on. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was, send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast. Of course, we also have the Growing Up Gaming Facebook group, as well as the website gugpodcast.com. Guys, thank you so much for listening each and every week. Please don't forget to share the show with your buddies. This is what happened with Tyler. Jacob shared him my show, encouraged him to be a guest on the show, and I got to learn all about the Canadian tax, which I didn't know how bad it was until after chatting with him. So, guys, remember, share the show with your friends. Feel free to leave me a review on iTunes. The more people that hear about the show, the more stories we get to hear, and that's all I can ask for. So thank you guys so much for returning and listening. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next week with another new episode. See ya.